Okay, right-brainers. Here's a little puzzle for you. You're not graded. Don't feel bad if you can't do it. You don't have to. You can take it home and work on it there if you want. The task is to connect all 9. You know this one. He is smiling. To connect all. Don't tell. To collect. That's good. Connect all 9 dots with 4 consecutive lines. Okay, and it's okay if you can't figure it out. You're welcome to draw, put the 9 dots. You don't have to do it in your head. You can do it on paper. Obviously, this whole Jung section is about the metaphoric mind, the magic mind, that whole part in kind of accentuated fashion, if you will. So I'm giving you various things related to that. In fact, speaking of which, while you're doing that little dot, let me do another little quick thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you this little thing, and I want you to simply say, not a right wrong, for yourself, and you can just look at it for yourself, which one looks happier, A or B? Okay, which one looks happier? Yeah, whichever one. You don't have to say it out loud, that's all right. Just for yourself, A or B, which looks happier? Okay. Okay, which one looks happier? Not a right wrong. Okay. Okay. Okay, well that's interesting. That's an interesting one. I don't know if I heard that one. Okay. Okay. A or B. Okay. Okay.
I don't even know.
Don't know. I'll show it again. All right. So, which one looks happier, A or B? Do you want to look at here? You can look again very quickly.
B.
Okay. Again, no right or wrong. A, if A looked happier to you, I wonder if I can amplify this. It suggests, so I can make this bigger, more left brain dominance. And if B looks happier to you, it's more right brain dominance. Because obviously it's, one side of the face is sad, other side happy, and obviously it's opposite hemispheres. Again, you can work in this. Actually, don't spend the whole class working on it because I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying. So either work on it now or put it away or whatever.
Are you going to show us the answer though?
If you want, I'm happy to. I don't know that I would have gotten this on my own, by the way. I know the answer, obviously. Do you want a clue, a hint for those? Yeah, you want a hint? Okay. I'm sorry?
Does it look like an asterisk?
No, I mean, there's different ways to do it. There isn't just one way. But, and you guys, you sure you want the hint?
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't, close your ears and hum. If you don't hum, you'll hear it anyway. You have to literally think outside the box.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that was one of those aha moments. We saw an aha moment. I love that. Oh, I get it. You literally have to think outside the box.
You have to connect the dots with 4 lines, correct?
Correct. 4 consecutive lines. You can't do one line over here and then go over there. Or you have to have 4 consecutive lines. There is no way to do it unless you think outside the box. And that's why I like the exercise, because the right brain, the metaphoric mind, the gift of that whole thing is thinking outside the box. Again, I'm sorry that I flooded you with all. I know it's up to you whether you read them or not, but because dear people, we have 3 more classes, and off you go. So I only have you for 3 more times. So I'm and this, and furthermore, because your inner scholar wants it, your inner curious one. It's like, wait, give me more, give me more. So I have a whole stack of tweets I haven't tweeted yet. I have stuff, and I keep coming across stuff. So I got you all that. So speaking of which, we are the life force power of the universe. We are the life force power of the universe. Pop quiz, who said that? It's okay if you don't know. Who said it is Jill Bolt Taylor. I want you to see that video. I sent you the link to that video. If you only see one video in this class outside of what I've seen here, you go to YouTube TED Talk. You look at her. She's remarkable. By the end, everybody gives her a standing ovation. You will. You'll go, oh my God. Oh my God. She even says, in my left brain, I am Jill Bolt Taylor. In my right brain, I am, and we are the life force power of the universe. And she talks about the deep inner peace of our right hemisphere. The deep inner peace of our right hemisphere. You have got to see her. Neuroscientist who had a stroke.
Oh, the Taylor?
Yes.
My stroke of insight?
That's right.
It was amazing.
Like I was saying. Huh? It's amazing. You got the masculine and the feminine perspective. It's amazing. And I have no idea why I'm talking like that, and I apologize to any ethnic group or anybody else that I'm somehow offending. Okay, I can erase this, yes? Anybody figured it out, by the way? He figured it out. Yeah, oh, and he says it was such, I like that. It's not like, yeah, I figured it out. It's like, yeah, I figured it out. Like right away. Oh, okay. You figured.
Not on my own, though.
Not on your own, but you know. Yeah, okay, outside the box. You figured, with the hint? Yeah, you figured it out, yeah? It's okay if you don't. I mean, again, it's not your value as a human being. Nothing like that determined by this. But it's a great example of how you can think differently and how we're constrained, also gained by our marvelous lineal left brain. With these little pumpkins who are out of control, I want them in their prefrontal cortex. That's the race car driver. Their little race car, big race car, just takes them all over the place. Right, limbic, all that stuff. So this is wonderful. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for this. But a lot of times we have to think outside the box, and we look at this, and even though there's no border around it, we imply and make a border. There's no way to solve that, implying that border. There's no need for that border. There's nothing that says there's a border there. Further hint. Okay. So little Jungianites, or big Jungianites, let's imagine I had this dream. I'm walking through a dark forest. It gets darker. I'm feeling like I'm lost. It feels somewhat foreboding and threatening. And then there's like arduous task in front of me, like this big mountain I somehow have to get. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this beautiful iridescent blue parrot. I notice it, and it kind of points, and it obviously says to follow it, and I do. And I come into this beautiful meadow of sun and flowers, and a perfect point break right over there, peeling. You are my Jungian-esque type, neo-Jungian therapist. What might you suggest? What wouldn't you do, by the way? As opposed to, again, not a good bad. I know it all sounds like it's a good bad. If you're a psychoanalytic type therapist, what would you want to do about that dream? What's there to me? Interpret it. Correct. In other words, tell me what it means. Layer it through. If you're a Jungian therapist, what would you do? What might you do?
Ask you what it means to you.
Well, but again, if you're... Well, let's go on this and then we'll keep using that. This being our little formalization for any theory we go on. Life force, power of the universe. Theory of the person. Theory of, quote, pathology. Theory of healing, role of therapist. Bless you twice, only you're a uni sneezer. And what do you like and don't like about the theory? What's Siggy's? Sorry, Sig. Siggy was, again, Carl's huge influence. The heir apparent betrayed his master, and off he goes. to his own thing because he couldn't tolerate, or it didn't fit for him, the idea that it's only sex and aggression. So what's the theory of person? If you Carl Jung. Good, bad, both, blank slate. What's it all about? Healthy. Sorry. Way before your time. Famous song. Famous movie, actually. I'll right brain it for you.
Balance.
Correct. If Jung could be put into one word, but this is a terrible drawing. This is a little different, but yes, we'll also put the one word would be balance. So what are we here? This is the little rose seed. You are destined to bloom. You know no other than to seek your bloom. This is early and mid-1900s, 20th century. That's radical. Just as Siggy was unbelievably radical, unbelievably geniusly radical. This is really radical too, because guess what? It's a precursor of the same as humanism. That you are destined to bloom. That's what you seek to do. Not necessarily destined because things get in the way, but you seek, perpetually seek to bloom, be all you can be. Quote, individuate. Individuation is his term really for self-actualization. It's an enormously humanistic concept. And in the seed is already all the, I want to say bioplasm, guidance for the stem, the leaves, and the bloom. And you do have to have the right amount of sun and water and good soil. Nature counts. But the drive, if you want to say, is to individuate, to become all that you can become, to balance these aspects of self. And as you well remember, there's the conscious, there's this, quote, ego part, the identified I-ness, and there's this, what I call non-conscious, not just me, other people call it non-conscious. They, in those days, call it the unconscious. And as you well recall, the unconscious is divided into two, and those would be, put a microphone there. Oh, no, that's Siggy. Id and superego is Siggy. Jung, think Jung. That's okay. Open up a different page, different browser. What are the different? There are two levels, if you will, of the unconscious. One's the personal. We all had a mom and a dad and all that stuff that Siggy and others have talked about. Absolutely. And then there's the collective. Correct. Thank you. That was collectively put. I liked it. Kind of two-part harmony. Right, so there's the personal and the transpersonal or collective. Personal and transpersonal, the collective. And that was a big thing that he added, was this whole concept of the collective. And the relationship between this whole non-conscious part and the conscious part is one of homeostasis, balance. Some homeostatic system. Seeking balance. And how does the non-conscious part, both personal and the transpersonal, speak to the conscious part? Through? Symbols. Thank you! Symbols. Do you remember the Jung quote that I love so much? Symbols are, do you remember this?
Bridges cast to unseen shores.
Correct. Bridges cast to unseen shores. The unseen part is the most important word in that sentence. By definition, your conscious mind, your conscious attitude doesn't know what the symbol means by definition. It's pointing to something you need to find out, something you need to adjust in your way of being in the world, in your relationship to self, other, and the world. And it keeps telling you, hey, hello, a little adjustment needed here. And if you don't listen, it'll say it louder. You're not paying attention. Hence the theory of, quote, pathology. In this model, what is pathology in that regard? If we're there to individuate, be all you can be, bloom, what the heck's this pathology thing? Talk to us. Even if you have a full mouth. Well, obviously something's disbalanced. You're not paying attention. You're not listening to yourself. So symptoms become a means, ultimately, for this greater psyche and psychic, actually, self, and the non-conscious part, to tell you something's wrong. Symptoms are, in a sense, guidances. I don't know if that's a word. It ought to be. Or guides. Guidance. They guide you if you pay attention. And they'll start with personal, and then they'll get to the transpersonal. Particularly if you're dealing with this bigger theme. And of course, transpersonal symbols are known as archetypes. And what are archetypes? Want to give me? Correct. Those are examples. But what would be the definition of archetype? Louder, please. Thank you. Sorry?
Like schema?
Yes, they're mega schemas. The schemas about schemas about schemas. You have you have the personal mom. We all had a mom and a dad, and we all have to grow up. We have certain tasks. We have to individuate, be separate yet together, right? I talk about that all the time. We have to be part of this culture, whatever culture we are in. There's all kinds of tasks that are transpersonal. So it's transpersonal, transcultural. Every culture has these particular kinds of symbolic motifs. It's transhistorical. 3,000 years ago or 30,000 years ago and 30,000 years from now, whether we're on this planet or a bunch of other planets, we as a species will still be dealing with these themes. It's the neuro, psycho, bio, endocrino, whatever co else you want to put in there, template of the human condition. These are the human conditions that we all as a species have always and will always have to deal with. And he found this. I kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. This symbol, again, if you want to say it's the wine, not the bottle. It comes in different forms. There's mom archetypes in all kinds of different forms. But the fact that there's a mom archetype is universal. And he saw that, whether it's East Indian stuff, Native American stuff. When I did St. George, when we lived in Northern California, Life of the Plains Indian, oh my God, are they Jungian. How am I like the eagle? How am I like the mouse? They're looking at things constantly as a symbolic mode of reality. Everything is a symbol for some aspect of self. Everything. So I will say this marker is an aspect of yourself. Symbolizes that because we're symbol-making creatures. And the issue, again, in getting... So healing, how do we heal? If the problem is disbalance, we're not paying attention, symptoms are guides, including these bigger symptoms, archetypes, how do we heal?
So you pay attention to the symbol and relate?
Exactly! Keyword you just said. Relate. You relate to these symbols. You do not interpret them in that, quote, reductionistic sense. To interpret is to simply make the symbol become a sign. Symbol becomes simply a sign. You have a dream that you're a guy and you're in a storm. You're holding this long umbrella and you're walking through the rain, and all of a sudden the wind grabs your umbrella and takes it away from you. And you wake up in the morning holding your crotch. Well, if you're an analyst, sorry, don't mean to offend anybody. And again, I don't mean to pick on them. They're brilliant, they're wonderful also. And it might be also true, however. You'd say, of course, especially if you're fenical, it's a castration dream. And this umbrella was a sneaky symbol for the phallus. Ergo, umbrella equals phallus, ergo, it's a sign. Now we've interpreted, now it's a sign. Never touch an umbrella ever again. Whatever. For Jung, it's a tough, what? He would never even think of thinking, whether it's a phallus, what does a phallus mean? What does that stand for? And what he didn't know about is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is a sensor type person. And it's offline during sleep. So no, it's not trying to sneakily bypass our sensor because we can't tolerate and wake us up if we thought, oh my God, it's a phallus. No, it's the clearest way and the most profound way that our non-conscious aspect is trying to communicate to us. And so you relate and you expand by relating. You expand the symbol. You relate to it. As I always say to you, I will never know fully what a wave means to me. I can tell you, I told you what my analyst said. I can tell you in a kind of global Jungianish way what it means. Ocean is the self, and so, you know, I can. But as long as it has mana, power, pull, cathexis, by definition, that means I don't fully know. That means that bridge is still cast to that unseen shore. When you finally get to it, you kind of know it, then it no longer has that energy. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. It's my mom or whatever. Now there's no mana. Every time I open a page to surf a memory, I was just doing it this morning. I look at that and I go, oh, it takes my breath away. That's mana. That's a symbol. But the point is you relate to it, you expand it. So the role of the therapist is, in this model,
Co-guide.
correct. Hey, co-guide, how you doing, man? A woman, good to see you. You are a co-guide. You carry the archetype of the healer. But you realize that's just a personification of an aspect of that person's self. And you're given the privilege and pleasure to carry that archetype. I will be the healer archetype, but let's be clear, it's not me, it's you putting it on me. And I will try and serve your projection well. And I will be a co-guide. In this model, you have tasks to do. Which brings us back to, I'm in the forest, and now I have this incredible parrot, iridescent blue parrot, guide me. So you're my task-oriented co-guide. Obviously, this is a symbol. Obviously, it's, by the way, anytime you have a dream or any kind of imagery or whatever, and you have something in there that's helpful, you pay attention to that. I mean, part of being a co-guide is helping your client pay attention to what's relevant. And that's in any kind of therapy, by the way. A lot of it's just knowing what is relevant, what's noise, and what's foreground important. So here's this beautiful iridescent parrot that's helping me. Bam! I can't interpret what the parrot is, but I can tell you it's a good thing in your life. Now you relate to that symbol. So how might I relate to that symbol? How might you help me relate to that symbol?
Ask you to describe adjectives that, or describe the parrot in adjectives.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could say, first thing comes to mind actually is clever. It's clever, it's playful, it's profound in some ways, and it's really beautiful, and it's very resourceful. Yeah, very resourceful. I'm just going off here. And it's very resilient. So that, okay, good. Now what's your thinking as a Jungian therapist as I'm saying these things? It's balance. I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you. By the way, you're all co-bosses. You can now assign the task.
Describing, aspects of themselves.
Obviously, I'm describing aspects of myself. So obviously, I need to get in contact with those aspects more. If that's what I'm saying, again, if this is a homeostatic model, that means if it's telling me this, that means I need to be more in contact with that aspect of myself. Kind of like, well, duh. So how do I do that, Doc? So there's always different levels. There's the outer world level, and then I would say back to, great, that's a great question. Say more about that. How might you do that in your outer world? But the other is, use the symbol world, use the metaphor. At the extreme, go see if you can go find a blue iridescent parrot. Buy it and take great care of it. Well, that's pretty extreme, because it's a commitment for like 30 years or more. They're really expensive. The whole story about a lizard I bought for Duran. The short of it is, that sucker lives for 30 years. You have to feed him 3 times a day, 12 of these little crickets. So I was going to be a Petco 3 times a week for the next 30 years? I don't think so. The relevant question is, how long does that lizard live? 1 year, taking him. Anyway. So you have to relate to the symbols. But if you're not going to go actually buy the parrot, you might draw the parrot, you might sculpt the parrot, you might find a nice picture or poster of a parrot. Or you might simply buy, if you're a guy, a beautiful iridescent blue tie. Or socks, for those who like socks. Or a shirt. Actually, I have an iridescent blue shirt. Interesting enough. And wear it. Endless ways to relate to symbols. By the way, humanity has been doing that since we were literally in caves. Never mind drawing them on the wall. For most of humanity, all these things you lovely ladies wear, and we wear less, jewelry and all that, it wasn't just random stuff. It had meaning. And all those tattooings and body markings and piercings and all, those were very, very meaningful, relating to other external forces, which in this model would be projections of internal, in a very conscious / non-conscious way. We not just do it quote as decorative. And by the way, who lives in that world? Kids! Your little inner 6-year-old, never mind 3-year-old and 1-year-old, lived in this world. That's why I put a big chunk of this 2 sessions of this class on Jung. Never mind, I love Jung. But you're working with kids, you're working with archetypes all over the place. They live in that world. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. What archetype is that? You betcha that's the hero archetype. So you're a co-god, you got to relate to these symbols, and one of the big archetypes is the hero. And I told you the hero represents all that unlived self. So in a way, it's an antidote to the shadow. Because remember, the shadow, part of the shadow is dark, evil. And the other is just the life we don't get to live that we wish we could. I will never be Kelly Slater. Some part of me would love, not, in one sense, part of me would love to be Kelly Slater. So Kelly, you live it for me, dude, and I'll identify with you. And I'll get up at 2 a.m. and watch you when you're surfing in Australia. Your heat. My wife thinks I'm out of my mind. But go, Kelly. You're a hero to me. Help me live out an unlived aspect. And what's the other aspect of the hero? My new little thing that I focus so much on? They are the ultimate causative agents. Remember our drive to be a causative agent? They're superlative. And because we globalize, generalize, and haloize, we think if they're good at one thing, they must be good at everything. That's why they use people to promote ads when they have nothing to do with the product. But because they're heroes, we globalize it. Well, we just went through the Masters, right? I don't pay attention to golf, but it was on everywhere. Oh my God, Tiger Woods didn't make it. This Australian guy does. Oh, he's a big hero. It's a big deal. And we have our biggest ceremonies in many ways. What, the Olympics? The Super Bowl? Actually, the biggest thing watched on the entire planet? The World Cup. Yes. It's like 6 billion people watch the World Cup. We are, as a culture, as a species, so hero-driven. It's a symbol of the ego and the ultimate ability to function. Be the causative agent in this. And it also undoes the shadow. Anyway, so that's an important archetype. Remember, it's Hegelian model. And no, I haven't read original Hegel. But yes, it's balance in terms of opposites. So anytime there's light, like hero, there's darkness. Raw, the shadow. Evil and unlived aspects of self. There's the persona, the social self. And each of these have an aspect that's positive or negative. It's great to have a persona. Again, don't pick your nose when you're presenting your dissertation. Pick your friends, don't pick your nose. And don't pick your friend's nose. But if you're very rigid, never go outside the line and all that, you might have dreams of, spray painting Cadillacs or whatever. And the neener, little trickster part, the neener part needs to come out. You've got to be playful as well. And in case there's the wonderful, loving, nurturing mom, and there's the dark, smothering Disney mom. And there's the good dad and evil dad. Everything has these balances. And life is hopefully not a circle going around and around, but a spiral If you're paying attention, life is a spiral. So you always have the shadow and you always have the hero, but you come and relate to it at different times. And this process has its own archetype. The long and winding road, the journey. Those wonderful medieval paintings you see in museums, a little guy walking on this road. It's always at a distance, and it's always, where would you be in that painting? I remember having a photo. God, it was the most wonderful. You just see this kind of road, and I guess it's English countryside somewhere. And you can't see around the bend, and it's kind of a little misty, and you just want to be on that road going, what's around the bend? What's around the bend? Well, that's all metaphors. I told you last time the story, right? Once upon a time there was this king dying, and, right, and the 3 daughters, and you already knew the story. And of course, the evil ones, the 2 gang up against the hero one, and she goes through hell in a handbasket, but gets the chalice or whatever. What was it? It was some wonderful thing we decided. Golden something, sparrow or something. Anyway, she gets it, brings it to the king, and of course, in his dying breath, he goes, the kingdom or queendom now, princessdom, has been saved. And of course, now she becomes the prince, queen, whatever, and there's prosperity and peace throughout the land. That's about you. That's your journey, and my journey, and all our journeys. A dying aspect of the self that needs to be revitalized by some other aspect. It's arduous to get there. But it's not about something out there. It's all about in here. Okay. Let me give you... Should I do that? Let me give you a couple other examples of dream tasks. And then we'll go. So I had a client who... I told you about my green giraffe, right? It was very much like a parrot. Parrot I made up. The green giraffe was an actual dream. And I actually drew it and put it on my ceiling because it was a helpful figure to me. Until I brought it, this was at St. George in Berkeley, when I brought it back home, it looked silly, and so I took it down. I didn't throw it away, but I folded up my little box that I keep in one little spot of the garage. I had a client, wonderful guy, who, adult, had a dream of a T-Rex attacking him. Really did. I thought, oh my God, yeah, really? He says, yeah, I know.
My friend had that same dream.
There you go. Go figure. Might have been the same T-Rex. He's around town. Watch out. It's in your dreams. It's all right. So I happen to have, of course, in my office, various T-Rexes. And I said, I have a T. He says, I know. So I actually didn't know because it was in the Sand World. So I said, he went, oh, wow. And he actually took the T-Rex and dialogued with the T-Rex. He really did. Well, what do you want from me? Remember the Senoe Indian tribe? Relate to the symbol. Whatever threatens, say, wait a minute, we got to talk here. And if you need your mama, that's good. Your mana bubble to protect you, mommy, put it around you. You cannot hurt me. I do force field shields with kids all the time. They start to shoot me, I go, wait a minute, force field. And then, of course, they say, he goes through the force field. Oh, okay. Donk. And I'll say to them, when that bully comes at school, ready? Force field protects you. If I miss the spot, underneath my feet. Okay, jump. Got it. They live in that world. She doesn't literally think that. But anyway, so he related to it, and he said, I'm going to buy me one of these. Next session, he actually did buy himself a little T-Rex, and he keeps it by his bed. Classic little simple dream task. Let me give you a more profound one. I had a client. Actually, this is mixing dream and imagery. That's okay. So I had a client, wonderful lady, who had a horrific childhood. A father who molested her from like 4 through 12 or 13. Oh, just horrible. Alcoholic mom. Had a sister whom she protected, etc. Not surprisingly, among other things, she would have a recurring dream. Who had the tsunami dream? Somebody had, somebody, you had it. Yeah, well, she had similarly. She sees herself on a beach. It's a beautiful beach. She's walking, and suddenly there's this sense of dread. And she looks, and the ocean like sucks out, and this huge wave comes and obliterates her every time. She never can get away. One of her remembrances of actual events was that her dad used to hose her down when she was naked. And she always felt so dirty. And it's such paradoxical, kind of like supposed to be. It's just the whole thing. By the way, a footnote that you already know. Trauma is the shattering of the necessary illusion that we are the causative agents of our lives. One of the main aspects of trauma is it does that. It goes, no, you're not. You're not the causative agent, because look what has happened. And it can be, never mind, horrific stuff like rapes and murders and horrible, but it's also divorce. One of the big things about divorce for kids is it shatters that really necessary illusion, belief, necessary belief that we're the causative agent. Remember Piaget's little boy at 5 thought that literally the moon moved because he moved. Boy, talk about being a causative agent. That's not narcissism. That's a kind of benign necessity narcissism, if you want to call it that. And trauma does that. It shatters that. And those kids now, the family, they always thought, boom, and they can't make it go back. So she once more had the dream. And I did say something like, what do you make of it? She goes, it does remind me of my dad. It does remind me of that sense that no matter what, and she just starts weeping, he destroyed my spirit. In actuality, she was a beam of light. She was really very appropriately gregarious, dainty, charming, delightful, fun human being with tons of friends and lots of success and all of that. And I did say to her, wait a minute. And this is, by the way, in the role of being a co-guide, it is a lot like jamming in music. And I say that with you in play therapy. You get to assert yourself. Hi, I'm home, Carl. Nobody's home. Oh, okay. I'm not home. Nobody's home. Oh, bad. Because they'll correct you if you're wrong. They'll go, no. And you go, oh, wrong. Thank you for correcting me. But sometimes they go, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, look. I know you, because I've worked with her for several years. I know you, and I know how the world sees you. Your spirit is alive and well. Your spirit beams because your spirit is of air. Water cannot drown air. She looks at me. Swear to God, she comes back the very next week and said, you're going to love this. Here's the dream. I'm teary-eyed. I love this. I'm on the beach. Here we go again. I look out to the horizon. Here we go again. This huge wave. Water sucks out. Huge wave comes. I go, oh man, here we go again. But then all of a sudden, as it comes over, I'm in a bubble of air. And I float right up through the wave and then above the wave as I watch it go past me and smile. Hallelujah. That's what I just heard in my mind. Hallelujah. So cool. So cool. So you can speak truth in metaphor in this other truth language. And it changes the schema of self. It changes your schema of how you see self, other, in the world. Talk about that. I just realized the protective shield thing when it's a bubble in here. Okay? So those are ways to relate to symbols. We're going to talk about a bunch more later on. What do you like so far? What do you not like? Actually, that's the other way around. Let's do the positive first. What do you like? Or maybe leave with a positive. Either way. About the theory. What resonates for you? What I don't think so.
I think balance is definitely a positive.
Yeah.
Because just in life in general, there's so many things that are going on that if you don't have that balance, it is you're going to have symptoms that are going to need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely the most important thing. And I've noticed myself talking with clients about balance in their life, and usually they're coming to me because it's very unbalanced.
Absolutely right. And fortunately, it amazes me, we're becoming a more and more enlightened society. I mean, look, mindfulness, that's right now, that's the cutting edge of psychology. That's what, 10,000-year-old Buddhism, basically? We've come all the way around, talk about coming around in a spiralic fashion. It's fantastic, but it's about balance. You betcha. It's also, let's face it, it's a very optimistic theory. It says you're destined to, that's what you're all about, is striving to bloom, to balance, to be all of whom your uniqueness can be. Wow! What an incredibly optimistic, positive, humanistic, way before kind of model. Be all you can be. Other things you like or don't like? Or like or not, but resonate with you, don't resonate with you so much.
I like that the therapist doesn't necessarily have the interpretive power, but it's more about sort of reaching some meaning together, and that it's very client-centered.
It's collaborative. Exactly right. It's exactly right. In a way, it's less prestiging. You know, I use words that aren't really words, but you get the idea of it as long as it communicates the concept. You don't get to be the wise one that says, this is what's true. But you get to be this co-guide, and you do have some wisdom. You get to share wisdoms you do have, if it matches. And it is collaborative. It's very respectful. Again, that's very humanistic. Way, way back, I don't know, it was session 2 or 3 or whatever, I told you one way to look in the broad sense of therapeutic models is they're either very relationally based or they're skill acquisition based. This is kind of both. It's mostly relationally based, but there's an assumption of tasks and things you do to gain or to utilize internalized skills, which is interesting. And certainly, God knows, psychodynamic is very relationally based, and God knows so is humanism. And all of them basically say you can think, feel, say anything, do about anything. We want to know. And that's cool. And so this joins that group. This deals with anger. Yeah, there is a shadow. There is no question. And by the way, Jung thinks the shadow is very dangerous. And he wrote about Nazi Germany and what happens with a collective shadow. Talk about the personal and the archetypal. I once gave, I used to do little spiels on the news. And there was he was a serial killer in LA, Night Stalker, Night something, he was known. They'd given a name, and it was horrific. So they asked me about him. They didn't identify me, in case he was watching. Because it said that, it's a classic projection, it's a classic shifting. How we feel about him is exactly how he feels about himself. He is terrified, he is enormously self-hating, never mind he's brain damaged, by the way. But in any event, when it takes on a collective feel, then we have this collective reaction. And serial killers take on an archetypal sense of the shadow. By the way, Jung really did live what he preached. There was a wonderful BBC documentary on him, and it shows his journal. And the first page is a drawing he does of his shadow. And it's this kind of evil-looking, gaunt figure in like a mine shaft right at the front. It's interesting. And Siggy also said, first you have to deal with the darkness. Only for Jung, it's both personal and collective. So he's good at dealing with anger in some sense. It's real, and there are ways to integrate it. You never get rid of any of these things. You have to learn to live with them. Nobody said what most people say when I ask what they don't like about it. What don't you like about it? Come on. Nothing? Impractical. A lot of folks will say it's not practical. Hey, that's nice. I like the theory, I can get at archetypes, cosmic, cool, but it's impractical. What you can do with all that? So I've obviously implied some things. You can deal with it. And that's fair, and you can come back and say, that's nice, but a lot of my clients aren't going to be doing drawings and dialoguings, never mind buying the little T-Rexes that they put on their nightstand. That's cool that that guy did that. That's nice. Come on, I'm dealing with folks that they're not going to do that kind of stuff. And it's going to seem really post-hippie, new agey, groovy, and it doesn't fit for them. So okay, so some say it may be impractical. I would disagree, but depending. Or, and this is, I'm sure, also true, does not fit all. If I left anything out before we switch? Yes?
I had a sort of random question about, is there a Jungian perspective on psychotic symptoms, like in terms of,
Oh, totally.
so like VH and AH being,
So to them, psychotic symptoms is being overwhelmed and overflooded with the archetypal. You're in the collective, and it's taken over your ego. So your little boat has just gotten swamped by that tidal wave. Now, in some sense, what they do leave out, actually, but don't take perhaps enough direct account for, is the neurobiology of pathology. They can still sit like that, like psychotic. I mean, clearly, there's some filtering problems going on here. And that's neurobiologically based. It might also be that the phenomena is flooding is archetypal. That might also be true. But the causes, and it might be in some sense asking for balance, but it might also be just a spillover because the dam is broken. And it's not, in that sense, a guidance of you're not paying attention. You can pay all the attention you want, dude. We gotta find ways, including medication, to build the dam. Now, at St. George, we were basically anti-med. We very much thought you could build the dam through these tasks. I told you about some of the dream tasks you draw. I told you about this girl who had the dream of being bitten. And we actually put a Band-Aid on. You apply prefrontal cortex, to use that language, on this. But if there's really neurobiological aspects, I mean, again.
Yeah, but if something, I mean, they're interactive, so if something
Correct.
is psychic, it can result in something that's physiological or biological.
Correct.
And then vice versa, so if you correct that through therapy, psychically, then.
And that's the whole plasticity model. I was just saying, on the other hand, exactly what you're saying. It is one unit, and there is plasticity.
So it doesn't.
So there is also that, there is that within limitations. And there are people who are never going to walk again, no matter how much physiotherapy and all the other stuff, and hopefully brainstem and other stuff will take care of that, perhaps maybes. But yeah, that's also true. Footnote, by the way, on that. One of the many things I sent you that I'm sure you had the time to read was a thing about epigenesis and about transgenerational epigenesis. One of the points to me about that is my whole credo about life's about taking loving, responsible, respectful care of yourself. Well, if epigenesis occurs, that means it's a moral imperative of the species, especially if you're going to procreate, to take loving, responsible, respectful care of yourself, because if you don't, you're passing it on. And you're contaminating the species with your issues. And I thought, oh my God, it's a moral imperative. Because you're right, it does, it impacts. Okay. Talked about dreams. Let's talk about imagery. Because that's the other way to tap into the magic mind. There's a guy named Duvet who's at Michigan State. And for his, actually I think it was his MA thesis, maybe it was his PhD thesis, he did the following piece of research. Always imperfect. Anytime I say the word research, I imply it's imperfect. But nonetheless, and therefore not conclusive in itself. Nonetheless, he advertised in local papers for anybody who's having a life problem of at least 3-month duration that they can't seem to find a solution for, or for which they can't seem to find a solution. I think it's a better grammatical way of saying it. And he got, conveniently, 32 people. Not a big N, but I guess enough to run some statistics on. Divide them into two groups. Cognitive approach, left brain, prefrontal cortex, and of course the metaphoric approach. In the cognitive approach, there was a variety, oh, by the way, the kinds of problems he got were people like, there was a woman who didn't know whether to leave her husband or not. There was a engineer trying to come up with some solution thing. There was a woman wanting to write a poem for her mother's 60th birthday. Oh, and this one you won't relate to. There was a graduate student trying to figure out a dissertation topic, among other things. So it divides them up, as I said, into the cognitive, if you will, group and the metaphoric group. Cognitive group, there were all these strategies of how you break down problems into bits and whatnot. And the metaphoric group, he himself didn't do this, because obviously he had to get people to do it. Put people in a kind of quasi-trance state, having them imagine the problem and just let the metaphoric mind work on it. It was guided in certain ways, but had left a lot of room. Sends them to the world and says, if you have a solution in the next week or so, contact me. Out of the 16 in the cognitive group, I mean, you know what the result's going to be, otherwise I wouldn't tell you this. I think 2 came up with a solution, and the rest didn't. And in the metaphor group, it was exactly the opposite. 14 out of the 16 came up with some kind of solution. They have to show, at least in some way, how it related. The marriage one was interesting because what she saw, and what she, in that sense, translated, was that it was actually what she was doing that was creating also the problem in the marriage. So that was very enlightening to her. Each one had their own solutions. What's really interesting is he then took the remaining 14 in the cognitive group, put them in the image group. That I thought was impressive. And he got a 14-to-2 ratio on that. So that's kind of cool. But when you really think about it, it's not surprising at all. And that's why I sent you a lot of those articles about problem solving. It really does go into this symphony. It's not just a piccolo or the big tuba. It's a symphony of orbital frontal connecting with people. And this dialogue happens, and then, wow, aha, I get it. I love when you did that. Ah! It really is that. And there's all kinds of things in history, whether it's Keku with a benzene ring, that he had this sudden kind of quasi-dream state of a snake eating its tail, and he goes, oh, I get it, it's a ring. You know about Einstein? You know, Einstein was incredibly imaginal, and he saw a child on a tricycle riding a light beam and goes, oh, E equals MC squared, I get it. I mean, it wasn't quite that easy. A lot of left brain absorption, kind of hovering around, integration, an image, oh my God, and then translating it. Yay for the corpus callosum. Oh, God. So I had this client that felt very overwhelmed in life. And she comes in, and if you listen to people talk, just listen. How we talk in metaphor all the time. I mean, never mind doing a sand world, you immediately go into metaphor. But just listen to people talk. And she said, I'm drowning. God, I'm just drowning in this stuff. Well, if you're a metaphoric mind therapist, you go, oh, wow, that's an interesting image. What do you see? Huh? What do you see right now? I see, every one of you is seeing something, by the way. What she saw, she said, well, it's kind of night. It is nighttime, actually. And I'm in this, I don't know if it's a lake or an ocean, but it's the body of water, and I'm kind of drowning. Now, here's what becomes interactive. If you're an interactive co-guide, co-jammer, you say something ambiguous like, I'm wondering if you want to be kind of very gentle, if they have a high need to be the causative agent and they're going to be controlled, if you tell them they'll resist. Or you can say, you know, I'm seeing something that's coming to help you. What might that be? And she said, oh, it's like this big tuna boat. And I'm seeing it's got the big spotlight, and I'm like, help, help. And they throw me out one of those lifesavers. You know, the round white ones with the yellow or the red stripes. And I put it on, and they haul me in. What might you say then to her? What task might you give her? Remember, always look for what was helpful, and then see if they can integrate and bring it into their lives. What was helpful in that image? Correct. So what might you tell her to do? Especially if you're ridiculous. And you want to bring out the playful, silly mind, because that's a really wonderful place to be. You know, first you have to own it. You have to say, I know this sounds really ridiculous. And in fact, might be even insultive to your wonderful image. But you might consider exactly going to the local CVS farm or whatever and buy yourself a pack of lifesavers and carry them around with you. And she giggled and chuckled, thought that was just the greatest thing. Exactly. Maybe to this day she carries lifesavers. I also said, or, you know, charm bracelet or whatever they have. I don't know. That my fancies, they probably have a nice sterling silver piece of jewelry or maybe earrings or something, lifesavers. Bring it into your life. This isn't hard, ladies and gentlemen. Bring it into your actual life and live with it as long as it has energy. You just got to pay attention. You got to listen. Practical. I know it sounds like an infomercial for, this is an infomercial, but it is practical. I'm going to prove it to you. You too. And it's on sale this week only. Buy 3 and you get this extra package. Anyway. So I had a stockbroker. Worked for one of the big firms. He just started. Very ambitious, wonderful guy, ambitious guy. I actually still see this guy about every 6 weeks. I've seen him now for, I don't know, 20 years or something. Just wonderful. Yeah, it's vitamin supplement. It's just, you know, so he doesn't have, he lives a very good life. He's no longer doing stocks, God knows. But he was then. And he says, you know, good. This is really hard. You have quotas and all that. You know what I hate most? Cold calls. I said, I know. I can't even imagine. Talk about needing a force field around you for rejection. They're constantly just verbally spitting on you. God. He goes, yeah. Now again, if everything is aspects of self, somewhere in him is the cold caller. Somewhere in him is that part. So we have to get, it's kind of working backwards. I have to go in, go, okay, there's the cold caller. I need an image. I need to know his image of who, what that might be, and then bring it back to him. It's kind of in, out, back in. He goes, I said, hey, did you ever see All the President's Men? Again, this was a long time ago when the movie was more, you've probably never seen it. Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman in All the President's Men. And Dustin Hoffman is relentless to get the scoop. And he's on the phone constantly. And he won't take no for an answer. In fact, there's a famous scene where he says, I think I told you this one because I've actually used this, where he says, look, I know you can't tell me. If you make a sound, I'm going to count to 10. You make a sound, that means yes. You don't make a sound, that means no. 1. It goes in the movie, he's like, you get to 10, there's no sound. Thank you. Confirms the story. I think I told you I once used this because I needed to know the drug results. I said, look, I'm going to count to 3. 10 is way too long. Not a sound. It's a clean test. You make any sound. Actually, it was the other way around. You make a sound, it's clean. No sound, it's dirty. You didn't tell me. Because it's really, we counted 3. I know, I wouldn't pass the ethics class. I understand. Okay, don't report me, please. It was dead silence. I said, thank you, Clay. He says, yeah, in fact, I have the book. I said, far out, you've got the book, because if I remember the book, I didn't read it, but I remember on the cover, there's a picture of Dustin and of Robert, and they're running, I think. It's a blue cover, I can't remember. He goes, yeah. I said, okay, if this feels in any way, it makes any sense to you, bring that book to the office and have it in front of you so you can channel the inner Dustin who can do this. And he did. And it helped him a lot. But what helped him even more was to hire an undergrad to do the cold calls for him. High five, okay. You can only go so far, and sometimes like, but I still ain't doing it. Okay, getting a sense of this, you gotta pay attention, listen to people, and they will tell you. Okay, now, you can divide up imageries in a certain way to kind of just personal, almost like anecdotal imageries. Problem-solving ones. And then we have these kind of archetypal ones. Describe for us the door of your childhood home.
It was brown.
No, I'm so sorry to be controlling and intrusive. If you could do it in the present tense. This is important. You do imagery, it's present tense. Because it's here now, and I want you to see it. Thank you, I'm sorry for the intrusion. So it's brown.
It's brown, wooden,
Okay.
has 3 glass panes
Okay.
in it,
Okay. It's clear glass or that?
clear glass.
Oh, wow, okay. And what's the door handle like?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you have some, as I see you're looking now, you have some more sense of it?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Now, I want you to put child you. I don't know if you're like 5 or 3 or 8, something like that. And as you see her, be kind, describe, if it's okay with you, describe for us her as you see her in front of that door. What's she doing? What's she wearing? What do you see?
She's wearing a school uniform
Okay.
that is a plaid red pattern, a white shirt. Her hair is in a ponytail. She is looking up at the door.
Yeah, perfect.
Just got home from school.
Okay, beautiful. Doing wonderful. Now, I want you to put adult you in that scene with child you. And as you see that, describe for us, if it's okay with you, what it is you're seeing.
I'm on the other side of the door,
Okay,
and I open it
okay,
and greet her
okay,
and say, "How was school today?"
okay.
And we walk into the kitchen and have a snack.
Fantastic.
And she tells me about her day.
Okay. And it might be something she either says to you that's of particular importance, or there's something you might want to say to her of particular importance. And if it's okay with you, share with us what that is.
All I can think of is she is telling me about, she's making this paper mache globe and painting it, and describing how she blew up the balloon and put the newspaper on it and let it dry, and then painted it blue first and green.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. So if you're a Jungian type therapist, what might you have Kristen do right now, right in her life now?
Create that.
You betcha. I'm not telling you to do that, but you betcha.
What did she say?
Create it. Create the things she saw in that image. This balloon thing, and then she does paper or whatever, and that would be a image task, a dream task. That's the dialogue. That's the relating. That's what I'm talking about. That's perfect. For God's sakes, hug the inner child. For God's sakes, hug your inner child. As hokey, and I don't know if that's 90s or 80s when they had all these hug the inner child thing, and it was made fun of on Saturday Night Live, and I understand. It's real, it's true, and it's right there. She is right there. Your inner child is right there at any time. Had a teenager, divorce situation, was very close to her mom. Her mom came out. Teenager couldn't tolerate it. She was a young teen. She was like 13. Oh my God, that's so sick. Oh my God. They had already been divorced. That's not why they divorced. Dad was great. Dad insisted she come into therapy. He's the one who brought her. He says, oh no, you don't. You love your mom. You've had a wonderful relationship with your mom. Your mom's a wonderful person. I will not allow this. You are going to go to therapy. But you can imagine how cooperative. She sits down and she goes, I know. I've been hired by your dad to brainwash you into loving your mom again, even though she's gay. And she looked at me and said, it's not going to work. What's a great response to that? What do you want to say to that? It's not going to work. Well, you've been doing too much things. It's not going to work. That's okay. Yay for your spunky spirit, far out. Fantastic. High five. That's awesome. For something. It doesn't, I'm not saying that's the perfect response, but you gotta love that. Like, it's not going to work. Fantastic. Nobody's going to push you around in life. That is so useful. That's beautiful. Tell me about your mom. Okay. So I want you to imagine something. I know. Your mom is 8 years old. What do you see? Have her start describing your mom as a kid. She did. So I go back past, all kinds of things. Why am I doing that, by the way?
So that you can maybe get her to relate to maybe some characteristics that she is as well, from her.
It's all going to be projective. What's she going to describe? She's going to describe aspects of herself that she can put onto her mom that are positive, and you want to change brain states. You want to be able to be flexible in your brain states. And when somebody's like, what part of the brain is firing when you're going, You betcha, you're amygdalating. Amygdalating. I know it's not a word, but that one's a good one. That one ought to be. Amygdalation, amygdalating. I mean, come on. That's not a useful. Great on the savannah 30,000 years ago when that big tooth saber thing was coming at you. Great. Not useful very much now, in a way. So talk to me about it, blah, 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 blah. She does. Now, create realities. One of the tools of therapy that you do and need to know about this is you create a reality by how you talk. So you say things like, after she now has some empathy for mom and some connection to mom. By the way, I'm like everybody else. I'm an imperfect therapist. I'm going to give you the ones that work. I'll tell you some that didn't, like I told you the one with it. But don't, this one worked, and I'll highlight those and then use it if it works, and your marvelous thinking out of the box mind will come up with others. So when will you connect with your mom again? Let's see, I'm seeing an image. I don't know how old you are, but I'm seeing it. Now notice, I didn't ask her, are you ever going to connect with your mom again? It's like being an attorney. Don't ask a question you know the answer to. Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to, rather. Or an answer that's not going to work. Because of course you'd say, never. But if you say, so I'm seeing you connect. I'm wondering when you're going to connect. When implies it's going to happen, but it still gives her the causative agent to decide when. And she right away said, oh, when I'm in college. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. What are you seeing? We're having lunch. Oh, I remember also, by the way, there was this big thing. There was a Laguna Art Festival. They would routinely, every year, they would annually go to that. And one of the reasons the dad got her in therapy, and it was in the summer. So he got her in, I don't know, April. He wanted to make sure they went to that together. And lo and behold, they did. She got yeah, they did. This image, she was like a couple weeks beforehand. In fact, I didn't see her again until after she went with her mom. And she came back. Okay, so these are all kind of personal images within the immediate actual life, whether it's child. And seeing a parent as a child is a really, because again, we all see our parents like stand on the chair. There's 12'8", even when we're adults. Talk about bireciprocal relationship patterns, just immediately like, here we go again. And if we see them as little kids, remember when the Samuel said, your dad is a child, which one would be? Just, here's a good one, I like this one. Who's up for doing a little quick one? Are you up, Ed? Okay. It's 9:49, Thursday, 2025, 12 years from now. Okay, 9:45 a.m., Thursday, 12 years from now. Give us the image, give us the view. What are you doing? Where are you? Future you.
Sitting with a client in a senior citizen center, thinking about issues and concerns of their life and how it's evolving, how they're going to be able to continue to feel productive,
Wow.
and how they're going to overcome family stressors and relationship issues.
Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So can you see future you? What do you? How? What's he wearing? What is he? How is he looking? What's he doing? I mean, tell us what he's doing, but.
I'm seeing a picture of being in like a room in a senior center and dressed sort of business casual, maybe
Okay.
with the person, you know, some chairs and the person
Okay.
sitting there nearby.
Still has the mustache or clean shaven beard? What do we got?
Still
Definitely got the mustache.
picture.
Okay.
A little more gray hair though.
A little more gray hair. Okay. Future you has perhaps a message for you. Trite, profound, whatever. What do you hear him say to you?
That there's meaning in connection with other people and to bring richness to others' lives brings richness to our life also.
Bam! Perfect. I always snap when it's something really good. Just snap it in there. So you have your own inner guide. Never mind a co-guide of the therapist. It's called Future You. Let me give you one from the Future You. I love this one. I call him the Italian Stallion. This was so good. So this is Southwood. This is this was the residential, not the inpatient section. I first ran the inpatient section. That's the video you're going to see on our last day. But then I went over to we opened up a residential substance abuse, adolescent substance abuse dual diagnosis program. This kid was hardcore. These kids are on the streets at age 12 dealing. One of the kids you're going to see, he was a mule for his parents when he's 6 years old. And they would have him transfer the drugs and get the money. 6 years old. Ugh! You'll see him, I'll point him out. You'll like him, actually. He's very spunky. He's not 6 anymore. He was 16 when he was in, or whatever. So these kids have very hard lives. This kid, so the Italian's telling him. So I say to him, Future you, we're all in a group. Ran with Greer Essex. Again, Greer teaches anything, take it. She's amazing. Body therapist, spiritual. Greer Essex. She teaches the sand world. Yeah, she's amazing. Right? He took her class. She's amazing. I love Greer. Hold her in my heart. We ran a group together. Ah, amazing. She did the sand trade group here. Sand trade, whatever. But anyway, so let me read first. Sorry. So Greer, so I say, give us an image. Here it is. You continue to use drugs. The part of you that uses drugs continues to use drugs. Did the same thing. 10 years from now. Where I always give the specific time, the day, the whole thing. And he looked at me and said in the group, he goes, I'm dead. Oh, whoa. Back it up. When did you die? I don't know. Well, how old are you? 18. Where are you? What do you mean? You're dead. Where are you? Before you got in a grave or whatever they did with your body, where are you? Oh, I'm in OB. Okay. I want you to look at your dead body. I want you to see your dead body. I want you to walk to your dead body and look at it. You see it? Yeah, describe it. Well, I'm lying there, and it's like early morning, and it's kind of like the big trash bin. I'm just like lying on the ground. What'd you die of? Well, what do you think, man? I overdosed. I want you to open his mouth. I kind of wanted to get some space for him. because I really want him to see this and I need some space. And look at his gums. Oh man, that's gross. When was the last time he brushed his teeth? Oh man, he hasn't brushed his teeth in years, man. Oh man, that's just gross. Oh, it stinks. Okay, look at his feet. Doesn't have any shoes. He described in the most excruciating detail this agonized dead body. Now let's be clear. If you say to him, you know, you keep using drugs, you're going to be dead at 18, you're going to be rotting in some parking lot in OB with your teeth and gums on. It's like, fuck you, man. But if you let him imagine it, and I didn't even ask for it. I just said, future, you're dead. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now let's start paying attention. Now give me the image. Give me the details. Give me the color of your gums. And let's look at your toenails. Now this becomes real. So I said, okay. Pull out the DVD. Actually, in those days it was a VHS. Pull out the VHS of that scene, and I want you to put in a new one. Let's imagine. Oh my God, hallelujah, the program worked. You stopped using drugs. From this day forth, you never use drugs again. It's Tuesday morning because the groups, no, it was Wednesdays. It wasn't Wednesday. It was Wednesday morning, but about 10 years from now, what are you seeing? He goes, I'm going to work. Oh, hey, wait, let's back it up. Where are you living? OB. Oh, okay, where in OB? Oh, and I happen to know this apartment. There's this really cool apartment building that's right by the pier. It's right, there's the ocean, and then there's this building. It's right on the corner. It's the corner one, so it has a west and a south view. Because the guy served. Cool. It's okay, cool. What are you driving? Because you're driving to work, right? Yeah. What's the wheels, man? What do you got? Long before your time. There's a show called Magnum P.I. with Tom Selleck, who really looked like Tom Selleck in those days. And it was a red Ferrari. I got the red Ferrari. Magnum P.I. I got the red Ferrari. Cool. This is cool. Significant other? I loved his response. Yeah, 3. Swear to God, I mean, this was so cool. I remember it verbatim. 3. You are going to work. You're a busy man. 3. Okay. And this one I loved. And then there's one even better. Wait. Where do you work? I'm a banker. Everyone in the group like, banker? He's not dealing drugs. He's a banker. He's a legitimate banker. And this is my favorite. Wow, okay, wait, so I'm seeing it. I see the OB pad thing. And by the way, when you do this, use your own imagery. It's fine. It's just, if you got it wrong, they'll say, no, it's not like that at all. You go, oh, right, thank you for correcting me. I'm seeing it. I see the pad, man. It's awesome. I see the sunny morning and all that. Waves are going to be good when you get back from work. This is cool. I see the car. I see the 3 others, though it's a 2-seater. I'm not sure how you're going to do that. But I got that. I see you're going to go to work. What are you wearing? Italian suits. That's exactly what I said. I said, oh my God, you're my Italian stallion. That's fantastic. Now, he has some advice for you. And you've got to always ask permission, like I asked you permission. If it's okay with you. It might be trite, because I don't want to put all much pressure on him, because it's okay if it's trite. It might be profound. If it's okay with you, share with the group. What's his advice to you? He goes, ah, shit. And they go, well, come on, share that one. What was that? Work your program. Which is, of course, what we were telling him like 158 times a day or an hour. Work your program. And I said, far out, he is my co-therapist. Yes, high five. Italian stallion, you're the man. Okay, getting the sense of this? Yes?
Are you using any kind of like meditation with the kids before this, or?
No, not in those days. No, not at all. And as you see here, I mean, the imagery to me, look, if any of these things, if we did the tightening, the slowing, to get you deeper, deeper in trance, of course it gets more tapped into that area of the brain, your brain shifts. But you can get there like this, like this. Just see yourself as a kid. Boom, you're starting to see yourself as a kid. Now, start with some detail. They kind of like, start with the shoes. You got shoes on? Not have them on. Yeah, I got shoes. What's the color? You just start with some detail, and they'll fill in the blank. I'll give you a couple more so you get the sense of this. I'll get one. Two more. All right. Person comes in and says, I don't know, literally she says, I'm feeling choked up. I'm just like, I don't know, like it's hard to breathe or something. What are you seeing? You know what's weird? I see a river and I see it's like clogged. There all this like debris is clogging it and it's just backing up. And I'm speeding this up. It took longer than this. But basically, again, you want to suggest a solution, perhaps. But you don't want to say what it is because you don't know what it is. You want them to come up with it. So I say something might unclog this river. As you're seeing something, if that's happening, what might that be? A rainstorm. It's just raining and the water swells and it clears it all out. And I did say, what do you make of that? And she goes, come on, this is so obvious. And this is a symbol becomes a sign. Obviously, I need to cry a ton. And if I just cry, it probably will clear this out. And I did say, what do you want to cry about first? And her thing did, she had a lot of stuff. But I mean, so sometimes it's really simple. I'll give you a different one. This was more profound. It's lovely. They're all lovely. They are. I love your clients. Young woman, she's in her early 20s. Again, vivacious and all this other stuff. And she had extremely low self-esteem, extremely negative perception of herself. And even though life of the party and all that, in some sense compensatory, whatever, but it's really her spirit. Relationship issues, can't find anybody, doesn't believe she's lovable and whatnot. And I remember her saying once, they can see me dance on a table and think I'm so fine. But underneath, I feel like I'm just pus. And I say, oh. It's so weird. When you were saying that, what I saw was, I saw this kind of like meadow, and I saw this kind of like the old rabbit hole thing, and I saw underneath was this gold mine. It's this mine of gold. It's beautiful underneath. And she says, oh, no, it's not gold, it's rubies. Oh, cool, okay, what are you saying? So then she goes into this whole image of this, underneath it all is this gem of a person. And we worked a lot with that. And of course, you know what, she eventually, by the way, did get married, find a wonderful guy. Of course. The wedding ring has to be a ruby sometimes and whatever. Change the schema of self from pus to a ruby. Now, I didn't do that, of course. You're a co-guide. You invite the opportunity to buy, and bang. She invited me to the wedding, and I didn't go to the reception. I went to the wedding. It was really important to her that I go to that wedding, and I did. Years later, as in 3 weeks ago, about a month ago, she calls me. They live out of state and whatnot. They're coming to visit, and she wants me to see her now 16-year-old boy. It was just so cool. Because it's some little something, blah, blah, blah. And it was so cool. And this kid's great. So I met with him for 2 times over a weekend thing. I saw her, and it was just, And she said, it meant so much to me that you came to my wedding. And she's happily married. Guy's a great guy. She's a gem. Schemas, self-schemas. So I told you about my wave conqueror, wave warrior, or whatever, floater. She again was very actually feminine. Nothing wrong with not being feminine, nothing wrong with being feminine. She was very feminine. She did not see herself that way, as you might well imagine. She saw herself as trunky, big, trunky. Nothing wrong with the name Olga, but it tends to bring up, at least for some people, associations with big Olympic person. Nothing. She hated that image of herself. Think opposites. Think Hegelian. Think, okay, all aspects of self. Give me an image of the feminine, I say to her. Give me an image of hyper-feminine that doesn't feel ich to you, but feels like, oh, it's feminine. She goes, oh, ballerinas. By the way, she felt least feminine in her work environment. She worked in finance and all that. She goes, yeah, ballerinas. So what might you suggest? You're getting the hang of this. What do you do now? What do you suggest?
See a show and maybe or there should have like a little ballerina figurine.
Any of those things, exactly. What she actually opted, I said, any of the above, or posters. She says, yes, I want to get a poster, small. The poster she got, I don't know if they're around anymore, it's wonderful. These worn out shoes, ballerina shoes. Right. Which is perfect. I mean, there's the famous Picasso drawings, there's the Degas paintings at the bar. You know, there's all these paintings. But that to her was too obvious. And she also, it's interesting because that's work, man. Those are worked shoes. This isn't easy. So she put that. So you relate to the symbol, so you change the schema of how you see yourself. Okay? Thoughts, feelings, fantasies, reactions. Yes?
Question, do you find that it takes, I mean, that schemas can change, is it over a certain period of time that this actually happens, or have you even seen it actually change within the session after doing imagery with it?
But with the researchers would say there's so many intervening variables. How do you know? As you know, I believe to really make any kind of real difference, there's got to be a connection, a relationship. And within that context, when the psychological safety of that context, all kinds of things happen, including the shifting schemas. I do think, oh, did I tell you about my yellow surfboard? Did I tell you about this? Okay, very quickly. Talk about an immediate change. Actually, that's interesting. All right, very quick. So, David Craig builds a lot of my boards. He's a great guy. I just called him up. I said, you know, I'm seeing greens, I'm seeing yellows, I'm seeing some blues. Jocelyn Pollock, just bring it on, some cool, fun way, make this board. So he makes this board, and I get it, and it's kind of more mustard yellow. I envisioned it in more greens and blues and a little bit of yellows. It's just mostly, and I'm kind of like, ugh. But it's a specially done board, and it's done the old-fashioned way of glassing, and pigments actually in the glass. And so I'll let the guy, I'm not going to say, oh, make it again, you know, so I'm stuck with this board. I told you about my burnt bike, remember? And I've got the bike, you know, so I have a thing about, no, it's got to be good, it's got to be right. I've got this image, oh no, now what do I do with it? I thought, I got to get over this. I got to reframe this. I got to see this differently. It suddenly occurred to me, I was pulling it out, it suddenly occurred to me, my mom, who at the time was living with us, loves tapioca pudding. That's not mustard yellow, it's tapioca yellow. It's my pudding board. And I swear to God, from that moment forth, to this day, I still have the board. I like it. I look at it. I go, it reminds me of my mother. It's my tapioca. It's my pudding board. Change the schema of how I see it. So it can, in some ways, our beliefs about ourselves really are, as we all know, in the orbital frontal, in this imaged world. That's why play therapy is so important, because they really live in that world. But when that old thing about the snow mound, remember the snow mound and the chicken that I keep bringing up? Because chicken is prefrontal cortex. I know it's a chicken. Orbital frontal saw the snow mound. You pick the snow shovel, but you say it's actually to pick up the chicken poop, because you have to just say it has nothing to do with chicken poop. It's really over here. Your beliefs about yourself and all that, those yum yuck continuum, all that stuff I talked about way back in parenting, it's all way deep in the right. That's where you make these significant changes in context of relationship as you see yourself differently. Right now you're seeing yourself taking a break. And your vision is going to come true. It's prenuptials. Go take a break. Please come back at about 20 after. Thank you.